Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly settle down. About to commence, the speakers already arrived. Viewers who are watching the program live, very warm welcome to each one of you. It's a pleasure to have you with us this evening. And as usual, the number on your screen, and also there will be a Mentimeter QR code. You can just scan the QR code, send your questions. The panel and the speakers are kindly agreed to respond to all your questions, actually. It's good to have you with us. You can watch the program from your own comfort, but I can really assure you, by not coming in person, you're missing some lovely refreshments this evening. But anyway, it's good. You save a lot of calories. If you come here to add some calories. But we all strongly believe that as food for thought is very important, same food for stomach is also very important. That's the reason we give some very nice refreshments. If we are missing it today, maybe next time you can make it. Some of the people are still enjoying the refreshments. I'll take maybe 1 or 2 minutes to tell what's happening in MMA next few days so that you don't miss them. What's happening on the 5th of June, the next program happening is From Boardroom to the Banyan Tree and the Journey of Conscious Leadership. We have an outstanding speaker, Subra Vaidyanathan. Is lifestyle leadership. He's come from all the way from Bali. Then to lead the conversation with him is Shyam Srinivasan, former MD of Federal Bank, and is also advisor of TVS Capital. Then on the 8th of July, again we have a very, very interesting event that is From Insights to Impact AI in the Boardroom. We have outstanding lineup of speakers. This we are doing jointly with Federal, the Puriya Talaimurai. It's happening from 5 o'clock to 6:30 in the evening. We have Raj Babu from CEO of company and Jagan Selvaraj. We've got a very lovely lineup of speakers, quite a number of them. Please have a look at our website. You will be able to see them. Then on 19th of June, we have Read and Grow. Again, this time is being led by Babu. Babu is going to be talking about hidden potential, the science of achieving great things, and Adam Grant, written by Adam Grant. And as you know, Read and Grow, why we do this, we strongly believe to be a great leaders, you have to be a great readers, and we do it more for students. But today the students are missing because I believe they're all seriously preparing for their exams. Hope so. I think they should do well. And this we have, otherwise it will be always full house by students. But we have a large number of viewers watch this program. More than a couple of hundreds watch it live. Then on 25th of June, again an interesting event. Mixed, we have a book authored by Ambi Parameshwaran. So he is going to be there talking to us. Mixology, essential ingredients for marketing success. You know, Ambi is one of the finest brain today in India on marketing and branding. Ambi Parameshwaran, former head of Ulka. And please do come, it's happening on thing. Then on 26th of June, again we have very, very interesting, not to be missed event is Immunity Intelligence Wellness Strategy for High Performance Living. We've got 4 outstanding doctors going to be talking about immunity, about healthcare, about the diet, what you should take, about the health lifestyle, and quite a bit. They're all specialists from different hospitals, including Apollo. They're going to be coming and talking to us, happening on 26th of June. Then 4th of July, it's our flagship event, our annual award function AGM. It's happening at 6 o'clock in the evening, but there will be a seminar on managerial excellence happening at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We have outstanding leaders. Dr. Sunita Reddy is MD of Apollo Hospital. Kindly agreed to come and give a valedictory address. And Mr. Veluswamy, the president of Automotive thing and also joint managing director of Mahindra Initiative, is going to be talking about keynote address. This is happening on 4th of July. Then also we have another interesting event on 12th of July. It's a discussion on the Road Hyatt by 2.0 authored by Professor Sitaraman, who is an yogi coacher. Sitaraman is the chairman of AACTE, I'm quite sure. For these all management students, your bosses will come. Actually, he is the chairman of AACTE, is going to be talking. Like a number of events have been finalized, and I won't go through them in detail. You can see the website. Coming to today's event, I always, I think this subject compliment to our coordinator Sangeeta for choosing this book, and this book is very, very impressive. Tomorrow, any Robin Sharma book is very good, and he puts it in simple terms, but it will be provoke your thoughts. Actually, that is what is very, very important. And one thing important is he doesn't preach actually, and it makes you understand, do that. And something so simple for you to learn, where 3 outstanding panelists are going to be sharing with reading by Sangeeta is how to manage your time, how to really build your relationship, and how overcoming fear and creating lasting impression. All these are very, very important, not only for the management student, but also each one of us. And must compliment Sangeeta for choosing this book. And we have 2 outstanding panel who will be sharing the thing. Ladies and gentlemen, bring your hand together, put your hand together to welcome the panel for this evening, Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh, a business leadership coach and speaker, author, and Ravi Prasad is the managing director of Verder India, and also Ayushi Srivastava is the chief manager, human resources, TVS Credit Services. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to the panel this evening. And as usual, you have any questions? There's a Mentimeter will be on the screen. You share your questions. Now, let me have the privilege of introducing all the speakers for this evening. Can I have the AV, please?
Miss Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh is a business and leadership coach, global speaker and best-selling author. A chartered and management accountant and Harvard alumna, she brings 25 years of corporate experience. Former CFO, Miss Sangeeta now empowers leaders and teams to maximize potential, performance and profits. Miss Sangeeta also serves as an independent director on corporate boards and is ATEDx speaker and PCC certified coach. Mr. V. Ravi Prasad, Managing Director of Verder India Pumps Private Limited, has over 30 years of experience in industrial sales and leadership across leading firms like Kirloskar, Sulzer, Dresser and Dover. Mr. Ravi is known for driving growth, building high-performing teams, and leading business transformation. At Verder India, he focuses on local manufacturing and a €15 million revenue goal. Mr. Ravi holds a mechanical engineering degree, an MBA in marketing, and a leadership certification from XLRI. Ms. Ayushi Srivastava is Chief Manager, Human Resources at TVS Credit Services Limited, with over 6 years of experience in talent management, OD, and L&D. An engineer with an MBA in HR from XIM Bhubaneswar, Ms. Ayushi is passionate about driving growth through innovative people strategies. Outside work, she enjoys singing, reading, and writing fiction.
Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to the distinguished panel. What an outstanding panel we have, and interesting subject. I'm also looking forward to hearing them as much as you're all waiting. Over to Sangeeta to take it forward. Sangeeta.
Good evening, everybody. Yes. So tell me, have you ever wondered what makes some leaders great? What could be their secret sauce? Now, these are some aspects that this book, The Greatness Guide, actually talks about. So why did I pick this book? Simply because it helps you to become a better version of yourself. It's an easy read. You can just flip the book, come to any page, and you can just absorb the point and let it sink in you. And of course, I love the thoughts of Robin Sharma, who loves to simplify things. So the Greatness Guide talks about 101 ways that you can reach your next level. It has crisp points and they are fairly easy to follow, provided you put your mind to it. Now I'm going to summarize the book, but I'm not going to be taking you across all the 101 points because that's going to take forever. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to share with you the top 25 points that really stood out, especially from a leadership perspective. And these points will help you become a better leader. So what I'm going to share is going to be a mix. It's going to be some of these powerful statements that he has made. Some I'm going to give it to you in the form of questions, thought-provoking questions, and I'm also going to spice it up from some real-life examples from my experience. So let's get started. The first, did you know there will never be a better you than you? Because he says, no better time than today to be the best you. I'm reminded of the Kabir's Doha that says, Kal kare so aaj kare so ab, right? So do it now because you are a great version of yourself. The second thing, leadership is about a way of being. So he says, hold yourself to world-class standards, take personal responsibilities, build beautiful relationships, and elevate others. The third thing he says, every person you meet knows at least one thing more than you do. So don't leave them without learning it. And I just had this experience last week. I met up with a client of mine who visited Chennai. He runs a speaker bureau. It was a casual conversation that we had to meet over coffee. And as we spoke, he told me something beautiful. He gave me ideas on how I can facilitate my workshops. I conduct workshops being a leadership coach, and he gave me some nice ideas which I can use it in facilitating my workshops. So that's why every person you meet, see what you can learn from them. The fourth thing is, tomorrow is incredible. He says, not everyone gets it. And I thought this is so profound. Because just last month, very unexpectedly, I lost a friend of mine, a CA classmate of mine. And it was so shocking that he's no more. So we are blessed that we are getting another day. So make your tomorrow really incredible. The fifth, what you think about and focus on grows. So instead of complaining, can we count our blessings and see how beautifully we can lead our lives? The next, leadership occurs during moments of challenge. And I want to share a real life example here with you. I was coaching one of the head of finance of a large corporate. Brilliant person, technically very sound. So the corporate was considering investment in a particular venture. Everybody wanted to go for it. But this person, based on his knowledge and experience, was not in favor of approving this investment. However, he did not have the courage to speak up and put his foot down and say no to it. And this was what he brought up in our coaching conversation. And we navigated our way through. And in the subsequent meeting, he spoke up with courage and in a very calm manner. And he said that though it looked really shiny, he said the risk was really high. And therefore, he did not want to approve of it. It took him a lot of courage to do that. But months later, when the market tanked in the segment, his no, putting his foot down very firmly, actually saved millions of dollars for the company, and now he's been promoted as a CFO. So that is why how you stand up during the times of challenge is what leadership is all about. The seventh thing, the importance of asking powerful questions. Let me again share an example of a leader that I was coaching, who was a very, very difficult client for me. Because he had a set beliefs, he had the set way of operations, and he wouldn't budge from any of those. However, one question really changed it for him. And what was that? I asked him, what would you like people to say about you after you have left this organization? And that really provoked a lot of thoughts in him. He reflected, he dived deep into it, and then he realized he needed to change his behavior and attitude towards people. Can I be a lot more kinder to my people and show more empathy to them, right? So this was something that brought about by just asking one powerful question. The eighth, what would it take for you to become a cool brand that would make others go, wow, about you? So this reminds me of what I've written in my book, Where's the Moolah, which talks about financial growth hacking for business profitability, where I have shared the 3W formula. What is that? The first is Woo your customers. Woo your customers with irresistible offers. The second W is to wow your customers. Wow your customers by giving them great experience. And the third W is to win your customers by winning them over for a long-term period so that you don't have to go hunting for more clients. The ninth, you become what you think about. So what are you all thinking about right now? Think through that. The 10th, do you know what separates the best from the rest? It's habits. So what are the habits that you're following? And do you have the discipline to follow on to these habits? 11th, he says there are tons of choices, starting with our words. Choose them really well because that's how leaders do. So can you use tact and diplomacy in what you're saying? Especially even if you have to carry or convey a not so pleasant message. Is there a way you can be polite, nice, and say it in a kinder manner? Can you share feedback in a positive manner? Think about it. The 12th is he invites the reader to think. What's one thing I could do today that if I did it, both my personal and professional life would get to the next level of greatness? Isn't that good food for thought? The 13th is, he says, invite people into your professional and personal lives. Ensure they are people who inspire you. They are people who can uplift you and help you to become a better version of yourself. So, I'd like to ask you, who are the kind of people you're surrounded with? Think through that. The 14th, the quality of your life comes down to the quality of your relationships. So he talks about the first principles for great relationships. What are they? He says, be the first to say hello. Second, smile a lot. Third, he says, use people's name because people love hearing their own names. Fourth, when you're speaking, look into the eyes of the other person. Fifth, become a world-class listener. Sixth, he says, offer sincere compliments. When you appreciate people, how do you feel? How do you feel when you get appreciated, right? The same goes around. And lastly, he says, treat everyone royally. The 15th aspect is, leadership is about believing in others as well as believing in yourself, especially when no one else does. Next, do you know what's the best practice? The best practice is practice. He says, how else can you get better if you don't practice? So practice your art and craft so that you can become the best in what you do. The next, he says, no great life was ever built on the foundation of excuses. So stop making excuses. Here again, I'd like to share another example. I was once coaching a managing director, and he had a very difficult time with one of his immediate subordinates who was giving him excuses for every little thing. Even if this person was told by the managing director to move a bottle, something as simple as move it from your right to left, this person was to give him a lot of excuses instead of just doing the job, something as simple as that. And he was getting really frustrated about it. And we were deep diving and, looking at ways and means to manage such people. And ultimately, I met him, about maybe 6 months ago. And then he told me that I could not really manage this person anymore. And I had no choice but to fire this person. So stop giving excuses. This did not happen because this person didn't do the work, or, it's because this person came late. I did not receive my reports on time. Stop making excuses and instead focus on how you can make things work. The 18th, he says leadership has much to do with relationships. He says find out ways to connect with people you work with, ways to connect with your loved ones you live with, and even strangers. See how you can build the rapport and strike a connection. The 19th is, we always have a choice and we can always choose between what's right and what's wrong. So think through that, apply your ethics, your integrity, and take the right and the best decision. The 20th, the best leaders communicate their vision, they coach and develop their people and empower their teams. And that's why they are free to use their own creativity and get the results that's needed. So food for thought for you, how are you empowering your people? 21st, an interesting one, he says is, listening shows respect. Now I want to share a funny incident out here. I was once addressing the leadership team of a corporate, and I was telling them the importance of leadership through listening. Listening is a great trait for leaders, and how great leaders are great listeners. Now they heard me out. The managing director was also part of the audience. And once I spoke about listening, he tells me, and then he looks at his team and he says, that's why I tell you all have to listen to me and, obey my words and do whatever I tell you. Now, listening is not really obeying. Listening is more about paying attention to what people have to say, right? And what they actually mean, because by just listening, you're giving space for people to come up with their ideas, talk their mind out, and that's a great source for innovative ideas. So are you great listeners? In fact, many clients ask me, how can I become a better listener? And this is what I have to share. Pay attention to what they're saying. Ask open-ended questions. Understand and clarify what they're really meaning. Be non-judgmental, because once you bring in the judgments, people are not going to open up and it does not create the psychological safety. 5th, if to reflect their feelings. Now imagine if somebody is telling you, they had a bad day or a bad challenge or something they're really low about. You're not going to be showing your enthusiasm at that point in time. You empathize with them. You being there with them for them, and that's how you reflect their feelings. And lastly, paraphrase and summarize what they're saying. And these 6 things at a high level will help you become better listeners. The 22nd is a lovely point. He says the main competition is not for the share of wallet. What is it? It's for the share of your customers' hearts. Because once you're able to win your customers' hearts, the share of wallet would automatically follow. The one thing that separates leaders from its followers are those who can lead and speak openly, honestly, and with courage. The last 2 are really brilliant. The last but one is, the fruit never falls far from the tree. And your children will become a lot more like you than you may even believe. It says, remember, what are you teaching your children? You're teaching them, and you're leading by example, showing the kind of lives we lead and the examples that we are setting. How proud are you about your children? Are your children your priority? Because he says, remember, leadership begins at home. The last one. What body of work will you create over your life so that the generations that follow will know that you have been here? So he's talking about the legacy. He says greatness comes when you create something with your life that's not only bigger than you, but it outlasts you. So what is the kind of greatness that you wish to create? So my friends, to conclude, I would say, I would recommend not to read this book at one go, right? But do it in bits and pieces, rejoice the essence bit by bit so that, those points can actually sink into your head. These are really short points. So just probably 1 point a day or, as and when you get time, allow yourself to absorb the essence of it and see how you can implement it in your lives. So see what resonates the most with you and what are the changes you would like to bring about in your life so that you can become a greater version of yourself. Could there have been something better in the book? Now what I think is, while it has many good things, it may sometimes come across as a bit preachy or like a sermon. And also, probably all the 101 ways may or may not resonate with you, but some of them are like really outstanding, like I mentioned. So see what you would like to pick and implement in your life. So pick up this book if you want to become a better version of yourself and be a greater version of yourself. So that is the gist of the book that I wanted to share. Now let's move on to our lovely panelists and see what they have to share about the book. Yes, Ravi. So,
Good evening.
what are your thoughts about this book when you read it? What did you feel, and what are your key takeaways?
Yeah, first of all, good evening to you all. This is not a book, I feel. This is a sort of a Bible for the management, actually. Because I read a lot of books. This is not a ready reckoner.
Right.
You read this book and again you keep it. This is not a book. If you are considering this is that type of book, this is not the book. This book is actually, if you read, you digest and again go to the book again.
Yes.
You keep, it is like you have a diabetic, you measure and again you keep measuring whether your diabetic is under control. Same thing, you got to do this. You practice this and make sure again you go to the book and read something, and this book talks about his wisdom, his experience. This is a lovely factor, and whatever all 101 chapters, he experienced that and he has given the prescription.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Awesome. That's really nice. To you, Ayushi, what are your thoughts on the book? Was there something that you really liked and something that you disliked? What do you think?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much, Sangeeta, and to the MMA Association for inviting me today here. Personally, when I saw that the Guide to Greatness, the title of the book, I mean, it initially sounded a little superficial to me, because I thought that how can somebody sum up the 101 ways of greatness to people. But genuinely I was fascinated when I started reading it. I mean, the author is living life to the fullest. I mean, he's living the best life and exhibiting that, the Gen Z term, the main character energy. He's actually exhibiting that, and for example, he's like stopping and pausing to live everything, breathe in the spring, and noticing people at grocery stores and coffee shops, and just looking for inspiration everywhere. So that was truly remarkable, and it made me pause and think that whether I am living my life to the fullest and paying attention all around me, because inspiration, like Sangeeta mentioned, it's all around you. I mean, you do go through the journey of life, but it cannot just be in a very singular approach. So yeah, I mean, my perception of excellence and the greatness, I think it's still getting shaped up. I mean, the experiences that we have seen the panel carry, I am only a fraction of it. So there's a long road for me to go, and there's a long road, but I think, when you see a movie of SRK or Meryl Streep, you have heard how great they are. So we all know how Robin Sharma is in general, through the best-selling books that he writes. But once you actually experience it, you get to see and read and look at the world through his eyes. So that was really fascinating to me. I loved every bit of it. So yeah.
That's nice. I mean, thanks for highlighting this aspect of like how he's observed every little thing, That's so important, because in this present day and age, we get so distracted with the mobile and, social media and everything. And I think despite that, he's managed to look around and observe people, observe things. And I think that really speaks a lot. So thanks for highlighting that. Ravi, to you. Now, the author has spoken about 101 ways of greatness. So out of this, which is your favorite, or which are your favorites, and why?
First thing is that listen. The listening is what very important. Today, as you said, a lot of noisy world. You don't listen. Many times we don't even hear. There is a difference between hearing and listening. So you hear and you forget, but you got to listen, because listening provokes others' interest. They get into a lot of open-ended questions, and you are giving respect when you are listening. That's the reason God has given you 2 ears. So we are always try to close others' question. We try to end up the others' question, but we got to listen first. So that is very clearly crafted.
They say like listen to understand.
Exactly,
Yes,
listen to
beautiful,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's very important. I like that one of the thing. Another one is lust for growth. He has written about lust for growth. So I always find there is no growth, both in the professional and personal life. There is no story. Yeah. So that's very important. So you got to keep growing. Otherwise, there is nothing. So even I did my XLRA at the age of 52. So I need to grow. Because if you are not learning, you are outdated. You got to have updated.
Continuous learning.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's very, very important. So you got to keep growing. For that growing, you need to have that lust, not only love. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Lovely 2 points. Ayushi, similar question to you. What are your favorite picks from the book?
So there were so many beautifully articulated points, so it's very difficult to choose, but I'll still attempt to summarize. So there was one line that greatness comes from mastery around fundamentals. So I'll just go back to my childhood. So when I was little, I always focused on being better or better scoring than my older brother or the people around me, because of the constant and consistent comparison of my parents. Because all of the parents want each and every child of theirs to succeed and excel, right? And he's doing wonderful, by the way. And so the reason for doing that was I wanted to just get done with all my studies, get done with all my homework, get done with all the good grades, and just live freely and watch as much television as I could, right? And so that perspective actually did not really change as I progressed through my studies and then my career also. So as you can imagine, it started taking a toll on my mental health and physical health as well, because you get really disillusioned with what you're actually working for, right? So there was a lot of pressure, a lot of darkness, there was no zest for life left in me. But then fortunately, I met really nice people along the way, like who pointed out that it's all about the simple things in life, habits, thoughts, habits that feed your mind, habits that keep you fit, and the thoughts of progression and gratitude are so very important. And like Prasad sir said, the listening skill, listening to people around you, listening to yourself as well at times, to pause and reflect what you are actually saying to yourself. Are you really listening to your body? Are you really listening to your mind? Are you really listening to yourself when others are not able to?
Listening to your inner voice.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, yeah, lovely.
And the one thing that is very beautifully articulated in the book as well is more on the lines of how everyone can be a leader, right? It does not have to be in the capacity of a CEO of a big organization. You can be the CEO of your own area, right? Whatever you're accountable for, whatever you're responsible for, if you treat it as your organization, your own little organization, then I think in our company we call it as entrepreneurial mindset, because everything is your enterprise that you run. So if you approach it like that, I think excellence, is in mastering the small and basic little things, just showing up every day, just doing your bit. So yeah, that was something that stood out for me, and I'm taking that.
Awesome. That's some lovely points that you shared. Thanks for that. To you, Ravi. Now, the author talks about taking charge fast, right? So, in your vast career, have you seen this? Have you experienced this? And what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, first of all, my school days, I'm a fast bowler. So,
Nice.
yeah, when I always consider the direction is a wallet, and fast should be speed should be our currency. So, without currency, the wallet is empty wallet. Nobody.
True.
It's just a.
Good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So even I joined this company 6 months back, I was not waiting somebody to give instruction. Yeah, I found there is a first 90 days, but I went for a first 30 days. So I found out where there are gaps and try to do some gap analysis and immediately trying to plug the gaps. I know that I may be slightly fast. In fact, when I was there in Europe last week, my CEO said, "Thoda shant." Just calm down. Okay. We are not Americans. Okay. So we are European-based company. So the fast is essential today. We have fast food outside, all that. But still, we need to act fast. We should not reply. We should respond. That's very important for me. I think this book has very clearly articulated about do it now. I always say, because I am from sales background, now I got a acronym. Number only works.
I love
So in
that, yeah.
sales, it's now, do it now. And in American company, we call it as a annual operating plan. We have budget. So I always say in Hindi, that could be a broken Hindi. Please pardon me for that. Abhi order pakado. That's a very, very important one. So we got to be on the toes.
I really love the acronym for now, and I can use it in my finance stuff as well. Number only works because finance is all about numbers, right? Yes. Thanks, Ravi, for sharing that. That's a really interesting one, and even your AOP is a good one.
Abhi order pakado.
Abhi order pakdo. Yes. Very nice. Okay. To you, Ayushi, the book talks about gratitude. It says, I call it as GGG, get great at gratitude, right? So have you practiced gratitude in your life, and if so, what has been the impact by practicing gratitude?
So I think gratitude is the best and the most powerful attitude there is. Life throws a lot of curveballs at all of us, and we don't know what hand will be dealt with to us. It's just that whatever cards we have to play our best hand. So, SRK and Farhan, both of them in their respective movies, in they sang beautifully that थोड़ी छाँव है सबका हिस्सा, थोड़ी धूप है सबका हिस्सा, छाँव है कभी है धूप जिंदगी, right? So everyone has their share of sunshine and gloomy days. In my life as well, they were there, mostly physiologically and a lot of that consequently mentally as well. And I'm not going to get deeper into that. I just like to say that it's not easy to be positive. It's not easy to practice gratitude. Like, you read everywhere, you see. It's just that when you are actually at the rock bottom, I think it's difficult at times. But for me, what has really worked and what author also has very relevantly pointed out is acceptance. Acceptance, I feel, is the thread that ties gratitude together, because once you accept the reality, once you accept your life, once you accept the curveballs, once you accept all the everything that life has to offer, if you look at it as at a lens, with the lens of negativity, with the lens of why is it happening to me, it initially feels like that, and all of us can concur that it feels like that. But gradually, acceptance, I feel, has been really instrumental in me while I was practicing gratitude, because I stopped comparing my progress to others. I accepted that a lot of them were a result of some of the, at times, it's a result of our choices as well. I mean, you start taking accountability, you start taking a bit of responsibility of what's going on in your life, and that's when the actioning sort of beams through. Like a ray of sunshine, that you have a realization all of a sudden that, oh my God, that's been me all along, or it has been my attitude all along. So, gratitude and acceptance both really helps in, removing that brain fog and actually moving forward to your path to greatness. It feels like superficial to say it so, that to the path of greatness, but yeah, I mean, to the path of excellence and being the best version of yourself. I mean, it's very important to pause, to reflect, and if something is bothering you, I mean, this has worked with me, if something is bothering you, something has really bogged you down, then you can just let it down, just cry over it, just feel as much as you can, even if you're feeling the negative or the resentment part of it. But then again, never go back to that mode again. Never let it make you cry again, or never let it make you feel bogged down again. So that, then again, it helps you to sort of chalk out the solution or the path forward towards it. So it is still an ongoing journey for me. Life will still be challenging, and it's a long way for me. So, but gratitude has been really, really helpful in me being able to say this to you today. So yeah.
Nice. Thanks for that. And I liked the aspect that you brought about the acceptance factor as well, because I think that awareness and acceptance really helps to keep going. So yeah, thanks for that. Ravi, to you. So as a senior corporate leader, there's this one line that in the book that says, the only way to truly get power is to give it away. Now, especially in the corporate world, because of insecurity, fear and different things, people don't like to give away the power across different levels. So from your experience and your thoughts, and after reading the book, what would you like to share with us?
Yeah, one thing is that in Tamil we call it as N-power. I consider this as a M-power. We got to move from N-power to M-power. So in any meetings I have a quarterly review, monthly review. I have something called R&R, rewards and recognition. So I always say that if you are having insecure, if in Durg is a one which is called Durga.
Right.
Durg is more of a my chair. I have been surrounded by completely safe.
Right.
You leave this Durga, and you have Saraswati with you, the knowledge,
Right.
then you will definitely give empower. You got to give empower to others. So one is to have authenticity in your team. As you are telling in one of the pointers, that when you leave the room, what they are talking about you. That's more important
Yes.
than your presence, what they are talking. That is the truth. That is coming from 30,000 feet down. It is coming from the beam, what you are talking. What is your team feeling about this?
Right.
So you got to empower. As Jack Welch was telling, who's a CEO of,
Yes.
he says that till you become a leader, you talk about yourself. The moment you become a leader, don't create followers, create more leaders. So that can come not from command and control. It comes only with coach. You got to be a coach and make sure that you uplift others and you are also lifting yourself.
Yes.
That's a very, very strong point.
Yes, absolutely. That's what the moment I read it also, I was able to relate to it. And, as a coach, I've seen in so many corporates, many people, because of insecurity, fear, doubt, anxiety, different reasons, they don't want to give away the authority and the power.
Yeah, that is what the knowledge is power. They never said the position is power. Positions are always temporary.
True.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Very
their point
beautifully
is.
said. Yes. Very, very well said on that. Yeah. Yes. And so I'm also just reflecting on this point as we speak. It may sound easier said than done, but actually implementing it, where the competition is too high in a corporate.
Yeah.
How does one actually get to do it is what I'm thinking. Knowledge is power, definitely I agree, and I'm sure everybody else also would agree with it. But how can one effectively practice it?
Yes. When I meet several customers, when we meet customers, when we give proposal, we have something called TNC. We all know TNC is the terms and conditions. I tell any customer, initially it is a TNC, terms and conditions. The moment order comes, there is again a TNC. They will say, again there is a TNC. That's a trust and commitment.
Lovely.
That's a trust and confidence.
Right.
So when you have a confidence, trust on your team members, I think empowerment naturally go from this end to other end.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's a very key that you have unlocked. Thank you. Thanks for that, Ravi. Next to you, Ayushi. Again, I know I spoke about the excuses, but what is your take? Because there's a very nice line in the book, the author says, no great life was ever built on the foundation of excuses. So any experience about the excuses that you would like to talk about?
I'd like to go back to how I got my first job. So I got my first job from XIMB at Asian Paints, and before that there were a lot of campus drives happening. Multiple companies had visited already on the campus, and unfortunately I was not able to make it through even the group discussion round. And the author talks about the invisible fences in the book, right?
Yeah.
So, and those fences, they get built because of the failures that the life has thrown at you. You become so scared that it's very difficult for you to take that leap of faith, right? So when this company visited my first organization, at that time, in my personal life, my brother was about to get married. And I was like, okay, if I go back to my family without a job, I probably will not be allowed to step in, was my thought, my initial fear. So that's when, and because of that, physiologically, I was so scared. I think I was having fever as well. And mentally, I was severely anxious. But then again, I thought that, what the hell, it's okay. I have nothing to lose, I'll just go and sit. So enough of excuses. Before that, because of my health, I had made a couple of excuses that I probably missed the drive, I'm not keeping well, I'll not be the best version of myself, I do not want to go. So, but this time, I was like, fine, it's okay, let's power through, let's see what the day has to bring. And I ended up surprising myself. I excelled through the GD, I surprised myself in the interviews as well. And that's when my corporate journey started. And during my journey as well, multiple times, because like I previously said, there were a lot of physiological and mental barriers in my life because of my going to my head. And each time my mind would tell me to just stop, pause, it's okay, take your time, it's fine, your body needs rest. Body never lies, as the author also says. But somewhere I feel that the resilience comes in when you mind over matter is something that you choose. And each time when I did it, during any board meeting, the first meeting with the general managers, the first meeting with the board, and then switching new jobs, moving to new city, moving into a new family, and everything, all of those choices, wherever there were excuses which were coming into my mind, I rose above that. I tried to rise above that. I still try to do, because in some or the other way, I mean, mind is something else that you can never control. But the fundamental learning through those surprising moments have been that if you go past that excuse, that's where the greatness lies, that's where the good life lies, that's where the excellence lies for you. So I try to practice it, and hoping that I excel in this journey of life in corporate. So yeah.
Thanks for that, Ayushi. Ravi, to you. Now, I would like you to share some real life examples from the book, from your experience, that you have practiced and that has benefited your leadership style, from anything from these 101 ways or even more of that. How has it benefited you as a leader and your style of leadership?
I go with the two things. One is from home. Leadership starts from the home. Yeah, as you said, the fruits fall not far away from the tree. I nurture my kids by putting a lot of those old Tamil songs of particularly Kannadasan and Wali, who was sung in front by MGR.
Right.
Okay, my children, even at the age of 3-4, they hear songs in the car of those songs only. Wow. Yeah, that's the way I nurtured because they have to understand this. Tavaru endral enna, tappu endral enna. That time only I come to know what is tavaru and what is tappu. Tappu means it is doing willfully is wrong. That is tappu. That is I hope that Tamilians, non-Tamilians can understand this.
Yeah, you should still.
Tavaru என்பது தெரியாம செய்ய. That's we don't know. Inadvertently we are doing it. But தப்புங்கிறது தெரிஞ்சு செய்ய.
So doing it knowingly and unknowingly.
Yeah, and then I also say வறுமை நினைத்து பயந்து விடாதே. திறமை இருக்கு மறந்து விடாதே. That's very, very, very important. So have knowledge, automatically everything will come. That's how I nurture my kids. And now they are not listening, I'm very open to that, but because of their age, but I nurtured like that only. That's
a common challenge.
Yeah. And on the professional life, go perpendicular. Because you got to be different. You are in crowd, you are neglected.
Yeah.
That's where I'm putting this word very strongly. There are many youngsters. Please go do opposite direction. Please go opposite direction. I'm not telling be activist, but think differently. When you go to the Google, if you are answering all the questions to a Google HR manager, you are rejected. Because Google knows the answer. You got to give a good questions. You got to give a lot of open-ended questions. So like that, you got to think differently and make sure that you are out of the crowd. If you are in the crowd, you will become redundant. You should not become redundant. To all youngsters. So when I joined the company, there are several brands which is not known in India. So when I go to the crowd, first time I went to the crowd and I have been rejected left, right, center by all the customers. But I went perpendicularly. When everybody is giving one product, I have given the system. So completely I am coming out of the crowd. So then I taken a lot of business from them. And that has given me a lot of business. Yeah. So go perpendicular. Even when you are going out, go perpendicular. Yeah, that's the thing.
Lovely. Very, very nice and valid points. And I think the key message is be unique. Yes. So like you said, an acronym. What an acronym that I use is about you. YOU. You are outstanding and unique.
Yeah.
So to see, thanks. So to see how you can bring out your uniqueness. Yes, that's a super point. Thanks for that, Ravi. To you, Ayushi. So can you share some real life examples of some of the points that have been mentioned in the book on leaders that you've seen, who've practiced it and, who've been impacted the organization positively. You're from a HR background, so you're more a people person, and I'm sure like you would have loved to observe and see what are those things that stood out and how it has impacted the growth of the organization.
So I will go back to the keeping it simple point. I think the best example that I can cite is not far from me in my life, which is my husband only. So my husband currently is the chief manager of planning and consumer durable at TVS Credit. And TVS Credit in consumer durable division, if you look at the annual reports, has grown tremendously over the last couple of years. So through his eyes, I have been able to see how the business has grown. And I feel that, of course, like Sangeeta is saying, that all the business growth is because of the soldiers that are working towards it, the people who are actually making that business happen. He is really wonderful at keeping things simple. I remember, so they have this monthly review with our CEO, and it was the first time that Ravi had stepped foot into Chennai, and he started working, and it was, I think, his first or second month of working in the organization. And he was struggling because of the weather change. He had 104 fever. The viral fever had caught up. And still, I saw him, he was working really, with a lot of concentration on the tech and the numbers and the movement. And that's when I realized that he was constantly on the call as well, along with, there were 5 or 6 more other people who had been working on the same deck for the previous night as well. Like for the past 2 days, they were relentlessly working on it so that the C was able to see and then make out the numbers for the month, and it gives them the go ahead. But that's when it sort of struck me that it's actually pretty simple, just showing up even when, even when you don't feel like getting up out of the bed, because your mind actually is, focused on delivering that excellence, I always see that's the one thing that I am learning from him. The simple thing of doing your karma. It's very well illustrated in Mahabharata as well, that you need to do your karma. You do not need to think about the phal or the consequence part of it, because success is a consequence of the constant efforts that you put in. And consistent efforts are in the small things only. When even if you don't feel like it, you end up showing up at work. So work like it's your religion, and work like it's your duty. So that is something that I have learned, and I'm still practicing it. So yeah, keeping it simple and so these small fundamental things actually end up making a difference in the organization, making a difference in the numbers that at the end of the day drive the business. So that is my primary learning. I'm sure there are a lot of leaders who already practice it, but I've seen it firsthand in my home. So yeah, that's the best example that I feel that I thought that I should share with you guys. So yeah.
Thanks. That reminds me of both leadership karma and the business karma that you spoke about, which I've spoken about in my books as well. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And probably now we could open it to the audience for questions, both online and offline. So any questions to any of the panelists, happy to take them. I think that's for you, Ravi. Me to read it out for you?
Yeah, I can, yes.
As someone leading a European multinational in India, how do you align global leadership principles with local business realities? Is a question from Bharat Kumar.
Okay, yes. Bharat Kumar, thanks for a nice question. First of all, we ought to bring that principle, in with nurturing with our culture. Because when you have leadership principle, global leadership principle, you are bringing that completely in our country, where there are every 1,000 kilometers there is a change in the culture. So you got to make it's mixed with blend with our local culture, and then you bring it here. I think your leadership quality will be very good. And having said that, I want to tell you, universally, you should go with ICE. That is I for integrity. Integrity, wherever you are, the integrity should remain the same. And you got to respect the local compliance, and you be a good ethical leader. That's very important for you. Yeah. This for me again.
Sharma emphasizes the importance of daily habits. What's one daily habit that has made the biggest impact in your life? Shruti from T Nagar. Well, I can share, and then both of you may also want to share. So, one is I have been an art of living practitioner for the last 20 years. Every single day, I ensure I do my pranayama, Bastrika, Sudarshan Kriya, and some bit of meditation. And I think it has been an absolute game changer for me. And it helps me to manage my stress levels and take the challenges heads on. So for me, that has been so. Discover what is it that ticks for you and what is the habit, what are the habits that you would like to stick on and see that makes a difference. Maybe any thoughts from both of you?
For me, it's reading books. Because reading books, it gives you a lot of pleasure, first of all. And you are not at all outdated. You get refreshed, you get recharged. And when you go out, you can reprime. Because I find that if you give me knowledge, then I will bow down. Because knowledge is like a river. The river flows who is humble. So first thing habit is read books. Today with a noisy world completely, and world is also noisy, world is also VUCA. VUCA is nothing but it is very volatile, it is uncertain, it is complexity and it is ambiguity. In order to overcome, you got to navigate. The knowledge is extremely powerful. For gaining that knowledge, social media can give 5 to 10%, but reading books gives you balance 90%.
Wonderful. Thank you. You, Ayushi, anything?
Yeah, a couple of habits. So, I had a really nasty habit of looking at my phone the first thing in the morning. So that used to be a terrible start to my day because you'll be bombarded with all the emails and the social media of the world. That's the one thing that I have stopped doing actually. I just spend time with myself the first couple of hours. I do not look at my phone the moment that I step out of my house and I started for the office. That's when I look at my phone. So that's one habit. The second thing is taking time out for the thing that I love to do, which is singing. So I ensure that at least, if not daily, at least once a week, I am able to record songs, I'm able to release songs, I release the covers, and that actually keeps me feel a bit more alive each day. So.
Yeah, that's interesting thing to do. Thanks for that. Probably Ravi, would you like to take this? What advice would you give to someone looking to move from good performance to legendary impact in their career? Velan from Salem.
Absolutely. One is that performance everybody can do. I think when you work hard, all that. But beyond performance, particularly for the youngsters, please listen, create legacy. Legacy is when again I come back to the song, Tamil song. It's not important. How you have lived, that's more important. So you got to create that legacy wherever you are. You work for 1 month or you work for 1 year or 10 years. Create legacy. Create a stamp that I have done this. So legacy lives forever. So that is how you have to move from your good performance to a career legend. Yeah.
Wonderful. Beautifully said. This question, Ayushi, I think as a HR professional, you will be a right person to answer this. How can organizations create an environment where every team member is empowered to maximize their gifts? Leela from Pondicherry wants to know.
Okay, so how can organizations create an environment where every team member is empowered to maximize their gifts? I think more from an organizational standpoint, I will go to the people manager standpoint, because organizations at the end of the day, when it comes to culture, the drivers of the culture, in my opinion, are the people managers, because they are the ones who directly impact how the organization is perceived by the individual, by the employees. So, as Sangeeta rightly pointed out about psychological safety. So, first of all, two things, yes, psychological safety, and second, listening to your team members, and third is appreciation. I think these three things, they really make a huge difference in ensuring that, first of all, your team is able to recognize what their gifts are, because at times even we don't know what we're really good at unless somebody actually tells us and points it out, like a coach of a basketball or baseball team. They actually recognize and see and point out what the strengths are of their respective team members, and the team members sometimes do not know it, and I think movies like Coach Carter and Chuck Berry are a very big example of it. So, listening intently, ensuring that that your team members know what their strengths are and commending them and at times ensuring that it gets recognized, their efforts get recognized. I think that's when you'll be able to see extraordinary growth and results, in my opinion. Yeah.
Nice, thanks for that. Ravi, the next question is for you. Can you share a moment in your career when stepping out of your comfort zone led to extraordinary growth or results?
Absolutely, yeah. Today we have something in our office that 3M. 3M is Monday Motivation Mantra. Today I was talking about growth is not equal to comfort zone. They are completely opposite. I said no, go perpendicular. You go perpendicular out of your comfort zone, you get attracted on growth. So when I moved from sales to operations, it was a completely uncomfort or out of comfort, because I come from a completely sales background. Now I have to handle a complete P&L where my reportees were elder to me. Okay, so I need to handle, because they are all Jambavans having good experience on supply chain, operations, all that. That I cannot go and have a directed, you do this, it will not work out. So you got to learn again what exactly is required for that. You have to come out of that comfort zone and work towards that, and definitely the results will follow. That's what I said, yeah. And again, I worked in a multinational company because of some obvious reason. I went to a MSME. There's a huge difference, 180 degrees again, the cultural difference, the process difference, all that. It's a totally not comfortable area. But still, I made up my mind and make sure that this is an uncomfortable area. But I need to grow from here. I made the company completely a transformation. Now I'm back to multinational company. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for that. Ayushi, the next question is for you, but I must also acknowledge MMA for this Mentimeter scanning the code. I think that's very well done. Thanks for that. So Ayushi, as a young HR leader, how do you identify and nurture hidden potential in individuals across the organization?
I think again, this answer is going to dovetail my previous answer as well. I currently, I am interfacing with a lot of cross-functional teams. I do have people in the team who I work with, but it's more of an individual contributor role. But I feel that there is always an opportunity to nurture and to share your experience. But as a person, I genuinely feel that you should always suggest and not advise. If at all somebody comes up to you and asks and looks for inspiration, that's when you should end up sharing. Otherwise, it's just preaching around. So when it comes to identifying and nurturing hidden potential, I have managed a lot of high potential programs in my previous organization as well, and the fundamental thing over there is more from a measurement standpoint related to the competencies that at the end of the day shape the organization's competencies in line with the values of the organization and what is expected behaviors that will end up exhibiting those values. So you ensure that you're able to handpick or identify through the right assessments which are in alignment with the competency framework or the values of the organization. And that's when you're able to see those little gems of outliers who you would want to develop further and who will be the future of the organization. So that has been my key metric. I mean, the assessments change, the measurement parameters change, but the backbone that still remains is what are the values that the company stands for, and what are the associated behaviors that ensure that those values are getting executed. So that is my primary scale, that in my experience, which help in identifying the hidden potential, and nurturing again is more from how can you develop them. So there are a myriad of options available for nurturing all those competencies and values in that identified talent. So that's how you address the solutions once you're able to identify the assessments.
Ravi, the next question from Sai is for you. How to reconcile integrity with chalta hai attitude Indians are infamous for? Do you see Indians becoming less chalta hai?
Chalta hai is now it is a jugaad, because Indians are predominantly a jugaad. Americans we say that yes like this. They say, or you say yes or no. So we try to do that, but integrity should be a rock. It should be a bedrock. Never ever compromise integrity. Have your team no tolerance on integrity. As I said, integrity is the foremost. You have competency, you have everything, but without integrity, it will get completely crashed. So I always say to my executive assistant when I'm doing travel expenses, inadvertently, okay, what I want to tell you that I should not even inadvertently take 1 rupee extra from the company by expenses. But company can willfully not pay, even 1,000 rupees is fine for me. That's the integrity we should keep it. If nobody is watching, you follow what is to be told. So that is the integrity which is really required. So India is changing, moving from Chalta hai, today, yesterday Formula 2, our people have won. You have seen that war, Brahmos and all hitting exactly on the striking, on the exact point. So there is Chalta attitudes. If it would have been continued, we would have not been like this. So integrity is a mother for everything. Don't leave integrity.
Yes, in fact, I'm reminded of this quote, doing the right thing even when nobody is watching. You know, that's the key thing for integrity. Great, yes. Okay, so the next question, what does greatness personally mean to you and how has that definition evolved over your career? You want to take that, Ravi?
Yes. For me, the greatness is that what is the legacy I made in the life. So that is very, very important for me. The greatness. The greatness should not come in the title, all that. Greatness is, career is from corporate, college to corporate, and the success, it is not a straight line. It is not a Brahmos. Brahmos can hit from one place to other place. But career, you have a roller coaster. You fail and fail fast. Fail in before you are 35. So that you are learning a lot of things from the failure and keep moving. But if the failure is again occurring, don't think the stepping stone is near to you. That's very, very important. So I feel that we have a very good greatness in the personality. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. I think that's nice. Any other questions or I think one more question. Okay. To you, Ravi, again. What role has continuous learning, especially reading, played in shaping your leadership approach over the years?
Yeah, as I said, the learning is to be our breathing. When the breathing stops, we should stop our learning. That's the way it should go. It should be a lifelong student. Always consider the college to coming out of college. You can say that I am now a corporate. No, there is a difference between college and the corporate. College, you study 95% and you have 5% of test exams. Whereas in corporate, you have daily tests. You got to learn from your job and training will be given only 5% of everything. So continuous learning is essential for today that you got to have a differentiation from the crowd. That's very important.
Beautiful. In fact, I'm reminded of this video by, I think, Shiv Kera. So he says about 85% of the world's billionaires are first-time entrepreneurs, first time they've come. And what is this common thing, the secret that they've done is they say we all read books, about 50 books a year, right? Because he says one single idea from any book can just completely change your thought process and, that is the game changer. They say we don't read fictions, it's more the non-fiction books because that's where we get the ideas and, see how to implement and pave way to be a billionaire. So if you all want to be a billionaire, read more books, attend the read and grow session every month. That happens.
And one more thing on the books is that book is a lovely friend. You can ask every time, it will not get irritated. You can keep on asking. You can throw the book, again it will come back to you. So that's a very, very nice of that book. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, Ayushi, I think the next question is for you. How do you foster a culture of purpose and passion among employees and, based on the core ideas from this book, Lokesh wants to know.
Wow, really, really heavy questions. Thank you so much, Lokesh. Right. So I think the first step would be to give them the book and ask them to read it. So that would be the first step so that they get to know the 101 ways. Culture of purpose and passion, I feel that it's more intrinsic in nature. I mean the purpose that lets you get up in the morning out of your bed and the passion that helps you reach your workplace, your office. That I feel is intrinsic. What we can do as an organization is ensure that it gets fueled. And how do we fuel it? So, as a learning and development and OD professional, what we can do is help them first identify their strengths, of course, and that happens through listening, ensuring that there is an inclusive, buy-in of your employees on the policies that we make in all the designing of the people development practices. That is where we have their buy-in as well. Because it cannot just be one size fits all. So ensuring that you foster, like I said, the purpose and passion through the solutions that you're building in the organization. And third is actually ensuring that you identify that what's in it for that employee, and what is the one thing for each and every learning input that you're getting at the end of the day, or the ask that you're receiving from the employee, from your target audience. You're able to address those pointed asks, and you're able to build solutions that are truly beneficial for them. So, talking to them, delivering the solutions, and at the same time ensuring that you have incremental improvement in place as well. So, whatever journeys you're implementing, you ensure that feedback or the buy-in in terms of what can be improved has to be there in every cycle of the implementation of that solution is in place. So that's how I feel the culture gets shaped, and you fuel the passion and the intrinsic motivation that drives it. So, yeah.
Sure, thank you. So with that, I think we come to an end of this month's Read and Grow. And over to Group Captain.
Yeah. Thank you, Sangeeta. I think great 480 people are watching it online, good number normally, and that's why a lot of questions have come. I think my people have already screened and put what is more relevant for today's discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to the team there. Really, I am quite sure you will walk out of the room more learned person and try to be, each point is golden words, and I'm quite sure you emulate them will do good. Thank you, Sangeeta, Ravi and Ayushi. It's a pleasure having you with us. We continue to give you books, keep reading. Can you please request you to step forward and do the honor of accepting the book. Venkat, you can join me on stage. Come.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
It's all about the enemy tops. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Till we meet again. Bye bye. Good night. See you again on another nice.